I'm Hosea Hines. I pastor Christ Tabernacle Church. We're in the last days. And because of the last days, each of us need God. We're located at 1201 Cooper Road in Jackson, Mississippi, 39212. Whatever you need, the Lord God has it for you. So as you enter this worshiping experience, we know that God is going to bless you. Hey, you will be back again. God bless you. This version, Mark chapter 15, verse 21. And it says that they compelled a man named Simon from Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus, as he was passing through from the country to bear Jesus' cross. May God bless that word. These series of lectures is on our compelling connection. And so today I want to talk about our compelling connection to the motherland. To the motherland. I want to show you a picture of Africa, and I want to show you something that is within the graphics of history. Amen. If we can enlarge that. As you see it, this is a picture of the countries that are in Africa. Africa is our motherland. It is. It is our motherland. We may not know the tribe that we are connected to, or we may not know the country that we came from, but it is for sure Africa is the hub of civilization. Africa is. There's a city called Botswana. It is on the lower part of Africa, right above South Africa. Zambia is to its right. Namibia is to its left. Botswana is where all the persons basically that were scholars, all of the individuals that searched out the essence of the beginning of creation, they all agreed that within the biblical sense, Botswana is the place where the Garden of Eden was. And they started much of their research not in Botswana, but they started much of their research in Ethiopia and in Egypt, because they were basically the leaders as it relates to modernization. But they had to track down through the rivers, and they found different kind of artifacts at Botswana. And because of that, the foundation of the world was shaped from that. And so I want to say to each of you that are here today, when you and I walk around, we are carrying some of mama and daddy. So children, you never go anywhere without your mama and daddy being there. Because we carry that. We carry the motherland with us because we're from the motherland. Ethiopia comes from a word that is called ethos, which means Ethiopia means burnt land. Ethiopian means burnt face, ethos. And so the history books are filled, if you and I would research the very modernist kinds of things that was millions of years ago. Out on the outskirts of Egypt and on the outskirts of Ethiopia were mansions that our foreparents built. Many mansions had no less than 70 rooms in them. They had indoor plumbing. They didn't have an outhouse. They had indoor toilets built, carved out of rocks, paved, open heart surgery there in Africa. Much of the modernization that we know today has been replicated, and others have taken ownership when they actually got the idea from Africa. They just recently found a stone somewhere on the west banks of Africa that you can connect to this stone a positive and negative light, and the light will come on from the stone. It's in the motherland. And so you and I have no shame to our game being proud of the motherland. It was in Africa that they discovered and took their craftedness in Egypt to develop something that many of us use today. Because I don't use it no more. It's called a comb. And there are many things that our people back then, millions of years ago, used, discovered. They made tools out of the rocks. Embalming. In the last chapter of the book of Genesis, it says, when Joseph died, they embalmed him in Egypt and they put him in a coffin. And so we must never forget our motherland. So just for a moment, I want to talk about this. We must not allow our today's crises to redesign our true historical identities. What we see in our community today is not the true picture of the people who we are. That's not the true picture. Why is it not the true picture, Brother Pastor? Because many of us lived in a time where young brothers and young sisters respected their elders. None of them would dare cuss their teacher out. None of them would dare do that. We were given the motherland principles according to the Word of God, because Africa is as fluently talked about in the Bible. Canaan, the promised land, is in Africa. Egypt is in Africa. Bethlehem is only some hundreds of miles away from Egypt. The Ethiopian eunuch came out of Ethiopia that came to Jerusalem to worship, that Philip baptized. And so Africa is our motherland. We need to be proud. Angola, we need to be proud. Congo, we need to be proud. South Africa, Nelson Mandela becoming the president. It's our motherland. And we must not forget the motherland. We must never get too modernistic that we forget that we develop agriculture. It's in Africa that we showed people how to grow stuff, how to dig into the ground and plant the seeds, and things grew. There's just so much history that's in Africa. And so how can we take our history and how can we maintain a segment of our history so that we will not lose our true historical identity? First of all, there is a war plot planning to distort our history. First of all, we must fight for our history. And the best way to fight for our history, we need to write our own history. There are writers here today. Even if you're not a writer, record it and let somebody else write it. But we have to learn how to write our own history, to tell the true stories of what our people have gone through and what we go through. Does God believe in writing? Yes, he does. Revelation chapter 1, when Jesus on the Lord's day talked to John, he said emphatically these words, John, don't trust this to your memory, write it down. We need to write our history as we fight so that our people will get the true intent of our writing. We're not writing because we're angry about who we are. We're not writing because of that. We're writing because our children deserve the right to know the truth. They deserve to know the difference between what was going on and what is going on right now. And they must value the fact that we've had people in our history that have given their lives for something as simple as working on a job. Something as simple as voting. We must remember the motherland and not allow. So we've got to fight. We've got to fight. How do we fight? We don't necessarily always have to fight against, but we have to fight for. I don't have to take somebody writing my history. I need to fight for me writing my own history. Some people may call me radical. But I just say I'm not really radical. I'm just real. Some folks may call me, well, you're just a nosy preacher. I'm not a nosy preacher. I'm just a preacher want to know. We have got to be able to reverse the negativism that is not a part of our identity. And by doing that, it demands us to not join the band that is only critical, racial, radical, that gives our demise 100% towards somebody else. Because listen, brothers and sisters, we cannot from the motherland blame other races for the stuff that's happening in our community. There is no other race that teach my children, that rather taught my children how to brush their teeth. I taught them how to brush their teeth. There's no other race that taught my children how to comb their hair, how to wash their face and bathe themselves. I did that. So I'm not going to say that all of my demise is because of all the racial stuff that's going on. I'm not going to say jobs out there and you too lazy to go get them and you blaming somebody else's race for not going to get a job. That's your fault. And stop talking about you got to break into folks' house. Go get a job. Our foreparents labored. Many of our mothers were housemaids. Many of our clothes came from other races that mama brought home. Papa had one or two jobs and did a side job of collecting iron and rim just in order for us to make it. That's why we got our good work ethics from the motherland. From the motherland. Because our people from the motherland knew how to work. They knew how to get up early in the morning without any alarm clock. They knew how to work. They knew how to value what they had. We didn't get religion when we got here. We had religion before we came here. The oldest Christian denomination is called Coptic. In Botswana, there's about 2.5 million people in Botswana right now. The hub, The ground is still fertile. God's presence is still there as it was with us. So we got to fight. We got to write our own books, even though people may not want to publish them. We need to write our own story and let folks know, not by power nor by might. It was the spirit of our ancestors that kept them going when they were beaten, when they saw their mothers and fathers hung in trees, when we saw little babies being snatched from the arms of a mother that was breastfeeding them. They kept on going because they was fighting for their identity. And they realized that we didn't have to copy nobody to be who we are. Ain't nothing wrong with you if you bring bologna on the job. Come on, bring your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If you eat it at home, you ought to be able to eat it there right. I'm trying to help somebody here. Might save a little money rather than going to the restaurant. Bring a brown paper bag. It's a little different in my time because when I brought a brown paper bag, it had grease on it and stuff like that. But you got aluminum foil and you got them Ziploc bags and yeah. So we got to fight for it. Turn to your neighbor and say, we have to fight for our history. Secondly, we must fill in the missing pieces of our history. We need to know our history so we can fill in those parts. Alexander Bell would have never developed the telephone had he not had help. George Washington Carver showed us how much there was in a peanut. It comes from the motherland. It comes from the motherland. You know, there are folks in here who have extraordinary talents that came from the motherland. But because of modern technology, it causes us to lose the identity. And I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. It causes us to lose the identity of our genuineness. You see, we are some of the most creative folks that God ever made. We can make stuff out of nothing. But within modernization, Michelle, we would rather go buy somebody else's stuff than to take time to do some stuff ourselves. I'm going somewhere with this. Now, you know, I've got a house like y'all house. I got a lot of stuff, Wiley, in my house that I got that I may use only once a year. And I got a drawer in our kitchen that has all kinds of knives and forks and spatulas. And we got all kinds of plates and china. But we got the audacity to have all that stuff and we eat out of paper plates. We got plastic bowls, and we got all these glasses and cups up in the cabinet, and then we have, Brother Lewis, get some soda out there, I pour it into a plastic cup and throw it away. Now, I was walking through the house last night looking at all this stuff. As I was going over my message, I started talking, but now, Jose, you must be out of your mind. Something wrong with you, boy. You got all this stuff and everything and so forth like that and all that. And I come to grips with something. I come to grips with this. Jose, is not a bad thing. Because 95% of what you have, your people made it. Because they knew how to make life a little bit more easier. And so now I have a new appreciation. I'll probably start eating with my silver spoons. And I'll neglect some of my plastics. I may just go home today and take out some of my Chinaware and eat on that. And do not reach for the paper towels, but I will reach for a cloth napkin. I would probably take the cloth napkin. Remember when I sat down at the table? Excuse me for a moment. Let me show you. I usually don't bring handkerchiefs, but I had to bring one today to show y'all what Jose may probably do. I would get to the dinner table and I would take it out and I would do one of these numbers. I would But I decided something else I'm going to do. I'm going to also put half of my food in the paper plate and half in the china. I'm going to get a plastic fork but a silver spoon. I'm going to get a cloth napkin but also a paper napkin so that it will not distort my true identity. Because before I had a lot of stuff, I ate with my God-given forks. I wish I had some old folks in here. The greens and the cornbread, I ate with my God-given spoon. Well, if y'all gonna say amen, y'all better say it now. Because I said this is gonna be 25 minutes and I only got 7 minutes to go. We got to fight for our history. We got to fill in the missing pieces of our history. But last but not least, we must find ways to continuously add to our history. I'm not saying this critically, but I'm saying this realistically. I am so proud of African Americans first. I'm proud. But for some reason, it rubs me the wrong way that here I am in 2023, and there's a position that this is the first time an African American had it. It bothers me. It should have been done a long time ago. I celebrate the history. But to me, it's unfair. We've been doctors a long time. We've been educators a long time. We have supported presidents a long time. We've done that a long time. But yet, we still have the first. And that saddens me. But it is an avenue. It is a way in order for us to be able to put some firsts on the books to add to our history. So may I close like this. What is it that can continuously help us to keep our history a part of our true identity? And I thought about one aspect that we have in our culture that is out of sight and it's all right. It's called music. It's called music. I don't care, and I'll say it clearly, every one of us can sing. And I want to make a declaration right now that for all of us there is somebody that loves our singing. That, yes, there is. I may not be able to sing where a lot of y'all love it. I love my singing. And I am somebody. It's something about us that when we get into deep times, the true nature of our motherland comes out of us. The lyrics in Swahili, the drums from the Congos, the brass, it comes out. Because within all of our artists, there are some motherland rhythm and rhymes. The vast majority of our R&B singers used to sing in church. A lot of them got their steps, moves, and high notes and low notes, F sharp and all that kind of stuff from the church. And in the olden church, when they couldn't afford a piano, the heels on the mother's shoes would hit the right note. F sharp, A flat, doom, doom. And they knew how. Y'all ain't listening to me. They knew how to do it, and they knew how to somehow, some way give it the opportunity to do. The Staple Singers had a song, I'll Take You There. You remember the Staples? Yeah, they used to sing, I'll take you there. So I played a little music last night just listening. Just sitting in my chair playing music. And then that was in 1972. And then I listened to Roots, Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around, in 2012. And then Stevie Wonder, Living in the City. Oh, come on, y'all. All y'all ain't got no gospel music. Come on now. Come on. That's Stevie. Stevie may not could see, but he sure could sing. Have I got a witness in the house? Yeah. And then Pete Seeger. He's the one that wrote "We Shall Overcome" in 1961. Fannie Lou Hamer used to sing this song, Go Tell It on the Mountains, Over the Hills and Through the Woods. Tell It on the Mountain. Fannie Lou used to sing that. Kim Weston, she's the one that sung in 1972, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Yeah. And then you can't forget about one of the staple singers, Mavis was her name. She sang the song, We Shall Not Be Moved. But I went back to one of the slave songs. The slave song did not say, we shall not be moved. Mama Gaskin, the slave song said, I shall not be moved. And so this is I think I shall not be moved. 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 Like a tree planted by the rivers of water, I shall not be moved. Listen to what it says in the first lyric. When my cross is heavy, I shall not be moved. When my cross is heavy, I shall not be moved. Like a tree planted by the rivers of water, I shall not be moved. I love this one. I'll be finished. The church of God is marching. I shall not be moved. I wonder if I can have at least 4 or 5 people just stand up and just march in your place and just say with me, I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved. Like a tree planted by the rivers of water, I shall not be moved. We don't need to be moved, y'all. Let's enjoy our black history. Let's reverence what our sheroes and heroes did, and let's live with the true identity. Despite all the tragedies in our community, there's still the essence of blackness that God has given us that we must show. We are kind people. We are loving people. We are giving people. We are loyal people.